Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining Mergers and Acquisitions conversation on buying broken or distressed companies or your competitor's business, rolling it up, and turning those companies around so that we can sell them. And yeah, as you know, I've done 21 of these over my lifetime. I love this kind of business model. But one of the things that I don't think we've ever talked about is converting the business into a subscription. And I'm really hot on this month because I realized that subscription businesses get great valuations. So I thought what I'd do is bring you up to date. I know last time we talked, we were chatting about business gurus and how much BS we hear about it from people that want you to come to their beachside house and spend 10,000 bucks and they give you all you need to know. And I've done some of that myself. I don't know, I guess people got value out of it. But the more I look at those business coaches and business gurus out there, the more of them that I meet, the less respect I have for the industry. Most of these guys and that are doing this, I don't have any idea what they're doing. It's incredible how incompetent most people are that advertise they're brilliant. Anyway, that was my whine for last week. This week I want to get back on a positive note using a subscription base. Now, we're looking for companies that are distressed. Where the guy's just having a hard time figuring out how to get the sales up or get the cost down or solve some major problem. A lot of times those problems are caused by divorce or not paying their payroll taxes, things that can be solved by taking over that company and turning it around and building it up. But one of the easiest ways to build a business is by converting it over to a subscription model. Now, the subscription model takes something like, let's use a tax return for example. You might charge somebody $500 to do a tax return, but this year when they come in, I'm using that because a lot of you on the phone are accountants. Let's say that we introduced the idea that next year your tax return will be $40 a month, and I'm just going to bill your PayPal or your credit card each month, and so you don't have to worry about paying us $500 next year. Now, the reason I bring that up is because it is so easy to go from $40 to $50, which consequently gives you a $120 raise the next year. So it's so much easier to increase fees when you're just increasing by a little bit. And for you all that are in the tax business, the minute you get the first monthly installment, you know that client's going to be back next year. So rather than finding out on April 16th that 10 or 15% of your clients didn't call this year to set an appointment, you've got everyone locked in. You know you're going to have their business. And another big advantage to it is that you can build on little additions. That's why we're creating AutoKept, because now we can build in expense tracking or mileage tracking right into your monthly bill. And so it's easy to say, this year was $500, so we're going to charge you $40 a month, but for $48 a month I can give you this phone app, and it's going to help you organize your business. And that just seems like a small amount for such a really great big solution. So it's easy to bump prices when you're using subscription basis. So a lot of times subscriptions, when you find that business that's in trouble, converting the business to a subscription can solve the sales problems, and it creates automatic business. I love that. Automatic customers, automatic business. I've been a lover of this for years. We're going to talk about that in a second, but there are sometimes when maybe you don't feel like working for a month, or you get sick, or you want to go on vacation, the business still comes in. There's a revenue stream that's dependable, and it's going to be there ongoing until the people cancel. So it can be a great way to level out your income, and customers surprisingly like it because it takes the risk away. I mean, look at how many people buy insurance when they buy a piece of exercise equipment or an electronic a stereo. The first thing that happens when you go to the counter is, do you want the extended warranty? And so many people buy extended warranties. It's not a very good economic bet. The claims rate on extended warranties is in the 20% range. There's not an insurance company on the planet that wouldn't love to be in the business of selling something with a 20% claims rate. So, but it makes people feel good. And if they feel good, then that's great. Let's go ahead and see if we can do it. Now, and it gives you a better multiple. That's the last thing I wanted to put on here. So when you go to sell the business, if you have contracted subscriptions, the company that would, no matter what kind of business you're in, it's worth a lot more. Now, you know that I've loved subscriptions. When I started my wife's outsourced bookkeeping business in 2005, we got her up to 104 clients that she did their full service bookkeeping for $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Some of them creeped up to $10,000 a month because their companies grew. But she built a great business over 5 years by taking away a problem the business owner had and making it just really simple on a subscription. And one of the biggest reasons I was attracted to the home healthcare company was the same thing. These clients, you got them for life. The life is short. They're not going to be with you very long, but they're not going to shop unless you just do an incredibly terrible job. I love that idea that the business was always there every month. I knew we were going to have $100,000 coming in. And, I've done this for years. I have a offshore accounting company that leases employees to U.S. accounting firms. And the reason that accountants used this offshore office, or the reason it was so successful over the decades, is because we didn't bill by the hour, by the project. People didn't call us up and say, I've got 20 tax returns. How much will you charge me for it? We actually leased full-time employees, and they were dedicated to that one accountant. So that was their night shift. And we did the same thing with our paperless workflow. We only sold it on subscription because it was an ongoing service. It was ongoing billing, and we made the billing small each month, but over the years that built up. So I loved that. And the thing I really like the most about subscription billing, and we're going to talk about how this could be done in a lot of businesses, is that our valuations go up. Because remember, we like to sell companies. I sold my wife's accounting firm. I sold the home healthcare company. I am selling right now my offshore outsourced business. I don't know when it'll sell, but it's gone up for sale. And I'm actually going to replace paperless with the new AutoKept/Talk company that we're working on now. That'll take me about 6 to 8 months to kind of migrate everybody over to the new and better system. And it'll still have value because there are other clients around the world. But I like this so much that I get into them, I build up that subscription, and then I want to go ahead and move on to the next thing. And the valuations, like, let me give you an example. We'll go back to accounting firms again. An accounting firm that bills for a tax return or a financial statement when it comes in, when they bill by the hour, they'll generally sell for a little bit over 1 times gross billing. Now, some people say, well, I got 1.5, but they never end up collecting more than 1 times billing on average. That's about the national average. But that same firm, if they've got 95% of their clients on a monthly contract, that same firm will sell for 18 to 24 times the monthly gross. So you can get almost twice as much for an accounting firm if you've got everybody on a monthly contract. That's just why we love it so much. Now, we all know that pool companies sell this way. A pool cleaning service sells for 24 times monthly billing. I have no idea why it sells that high because the churn on the clients are so high, but for some reason that's the going rate. And a lot of air conditioning companies now have gone to this. And they just charge you a monthly bill, and we're going to be out and take care of the air conditioner. And I have that service on my air conditioners. When I bought this foreclosed house, the guy built it himself. did a terrible job at installing the air conditioning units. They were leaking through the roof, and the piping was all wrong. So an air conditioning contractor came out and reinstalled the units, which is, air conditioning is not optional in Arizona. But then once he got done, he said, now our annual service contract is, and we're going to come out 2 times a year and check the system, summer and winter, and that'll include all the parts and services. And my wife bought it. And then my wife's an accountant. I told her, I said, that's highly profitable for them. Well, I don't care. I want them to know this thing's going to work, and they're going to be the first one. They're going to come immediately if we call. And you know what the old story is, happy wife, happy life. So I now have a service contract on my air conditioners and heating units so that they're taken care of. But we see this all the time, the subscription thing. Most of us belong to Amazon Prime, so we can get free movies and free shipping when we buy books. Some of you belong to warehouse clubs like Costco. Well, that's what that is. You're paying $100 a year for your membership. That's a subscription, but it makes you a dedicated customer, and that's why Amazon and Costco love the subscription model so much. When I go, they're not selling me a $5,000 membership, which means I can get all the food my family wants to eat for a year. I think that would probably feed us till May. But they do charge a fee to belong to the club, and that is a membership. I'm a member of Costco. People say that. Oh yeah, I'm a member at Costco, and it's like I'm on the inside. Now we see this in a lot of businesses, and one of my favorite examples is a car wash chain out here in Arizona, and I know these guys. There's some Libyan businessmen who came to America 40 years ago, of course, dead broke, but they bought an old, wrecked out car wash and then started selling free car wash subscriptions. And so when you go to the car wash, they have 2 lines. The quick line, you have a subscription sticker on your windshield. The slow line means you paid the $5 and you wait your turn. Now, here's the interesting thing. They actually have a guy working out there in the yard selling the subscriptions. So while people are in the $5 cash line, they're waning, and he goes up to the window and makes a pitch. For $19.95, you can get your car washed 100 times a month if you want. Come by anytime, wash your car. And they really, really pushed this. Matter of fact, they pay that guy by commission, and he's the highest paid person in the building, the manager of that car wash. And these are $4 million a piece businesses now. They pay that guy out there in the field selling in the yard, selling that subscription more than they do the general manager because he's working on commission. But the idea is they want those cars to come through there. Now, they don't make a lot of money if the guy comes in 100 times a month, but if he comes in 3 or 4 or 5 times a month and gets his car washed, they make a killing. And here's the reason why. Nobody goes into the convenience store car wash without filling up their gas tank. They always do that. And the other thing that happens is they've got to get out of their car when it's being washed. So what do you think they do? They go into the convenience store. And if I can get a guy to come by my convenience store car wash gas station 4 times, 10 times a month, he's going to buy a lot of potato chips and beer, and I make a killing on those items. But I've got to have that guy in the store, and every time you go into one of these car washes, and the reason I know so much about it is because my wife's a subscriber, and she's got the cleanest looking truck I've ever seen. For somebody living on a dirt road, but she's in there all the time, and I always notice wrappers in the back seat where my sons talked her into something off the high profit racks. But it goes on. The other day, there's a little place out here called Old Tucson, and it's a movie studio where lots of cowboy movies are made and television series. But you can get access to this place during the week or when they're not shooting movies. And, they've got horse rides and other little attractions. Well, my son fancies himself a cowboy, and I guess he takes after the old man. We go there a lot. when we were there last week, they said, why don't you just buy a subscription? And you can come as often as you want. Instead of paying $20 each time you come out, it's $45 a year per person. And so we bought the subscription. Now, I'm going to tell you what happens here. Now we think of Old Tucson. Whenever anyone comes to town, one of the first things we want to do is, well, let's go to Old Tucson. And of course, our justification in our mind is we've already paid, so all we've got to do is pay for our out-of-town company. But it becomes one of the most favorite places. And of course, you know the other thing that happens, you get in, you can't take food or beverage in with you. So if you're going to be there all day in the hot sun or out there riding horses, you're going to pay extra for the other services, like a horseback ride through the mountain there in the background, or for the ice cream or the soda pop that you drink while you're there. So this is a great deal for them. And I know that Carl Slicer's on, and I think one of the things he should consider doing is selling his employment screening service on a subscription basis. We know you're going to have a lot of turnover the next year. Rather than just paying me 60 or $100 each time I do a screening, I'll put you on subscription for $1,000 a month, and that includes up to 20 background checks a month. But we'll just automatically bill the company $1,000 a month. And what a great way to build in a locked-in repetitive billing. And that makes the company worth so much more money. Instead of selling for a percentage of, or 3 times net profit or 5 times net profit, you're going to sell for 24 or months of contracted billing. But there's some problems with this too, and I'm going to tell you what they are. One is it's going to wreak havoc. If you switch over to subscription billing, it's going to wreak havoc with your profit and loss statement right out of the gate. And it's going to be a little scary because, well, for example, the AutoKept software, I could charge $1,000, maybe $3,000 to custom build a telephone app and sell it to somebody one time, and that would be far more profitable than to sell it for $97 a month. But I know that when I get people on there at $97 a month, if I get 10 of their accounting clients to start using the application, they're never going to drop, and I'm going to have $97 a month for 10 years until they sell that firm, and probably the guy that buys a firm from them is going to want to keep the subscription going. But initially, it's going to wreak havoc on your P&L because you don't have that $1,000 or $3,000 check coming in. So the first thing you've got to realize as you start thinking about looking at subscriptions is that we need to now think in terms of equity. I'm building equity a lot faster for reselling the business than in terms of profit margins, because your first year profits are going to stink if you switch over. The second and third and fourth year, they get far better because it's easier to sell subscriptions when you're charging $97 than it is a month instead of $3,000 up front. Much easier to sell. People feel far less at risk, so you're reversing the risk that they feel when they buy anything from you by breaking the cost up into monthly installments. And so it's easier to make sales, but the first year it's going to stink. And one of the things you'll have to really think about here is I've got to figure out how I'm going to recover my sales cost and my cost of goods in the first 4 or 5 months of that monthly subscription. That's when I'm going to have my negative cash flow, and then I'll switch over to positive. So it does have an immediate impact on your P&L. And you're going to have to figure out how to make an enormous effort in building out retention. You cannot afford to sell somebody on subscription and have them quit 3 months later. If that happens, then you haven't even recovered your cost, and it's highly negative on your long-term health. And you'll need to build out a sales process to explain monthly billing and the advantage to the client. These are just things that you can look at other people in the industries that are doing it. Look at other industries that have subscriptions. I am actually going to give you some advice on where to go. As a matter of fact, let's just talk about this. I would recommend that the very first thing you do, if this sounds interesting to you, and I think this is a great idea for going into a business that is in distress, and they can't figure out how to get their sales. Is this a business I could convert over to subscriptions? Can I call all the customers that ever left that business and re-up them by offering the service on a subscription basis? One of the best books that I've read on this is just recent by John Warrillow, called The Automatic Customer. Now, I'm recording today's meeting, and I'm going to post that and send you a link in case you don't get these 3 books written down. But this is a $15 book on Amazon. John Warrillow is a really great guy when it comes to writing business books on buying distressed companies. You've heard me recommend his books in the past. And as a matter of fact, if you log on to LinkedIn, he'll even communicate with you and talk about this. Tell him that I sent you. This is the first book I would buy. You'll see lots of examples, over 100 different industries that have very profitable examples of businesses being converted to subscription. I'm not in the book. I was kind of surprised. Warrillow interviewed me for 2 hours on subscription businesses because I love them so much. But then I was very disappointed when I bought my copy and I wasn't in it. I haven't sent him a note yet to complain about it, though. Here's the next one I'd buy: subscription marketing. Really geared toward how do we get the client to sign up. This would be something I'd buy. You can get it on Kindle for free, but I would buy it in a book so you can have it with you and carry it around. $13. Little easy book to read, but gives you a lot of strategies for going to your current customers that are paying you once a year or whenever they get around to it, and or when something breaks, and then saying, why don't we just take care of this problem for you? You're the first person that we go out and support. So if your air conditioner breaks, you get your service at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're putting you at the top of the list because you're on subscription, which is, I think, what probably convinced my wife. It gets 105 degrees out here in the summertime. She did not want to wait until 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon for the repairman to show up. She wanted the guy out there 8 o'clock at that air conditioner breaks down. So I think that's why she bought it on the air conditioning. So it's a simple, clean, easy book to give you some more background. And then a little bit more in-depth book would be The Membership Economy. Now, let me see. I got a question here. Let me pull it up. Would a subscription plan be a good method to pick up lost customers? Yeah, I think so. Michael, let me repeat the question one more time. Would a subscription plan be a good way to go back and get people that have left us in the past? Absolutely. When you calling on people that have stopped doing business with you is actually one of the most successful ways to immediately build sales. Most of the time, customers left because they got a feeling of indifference. You didn't pay attention to their complaints or their concerns. They almost never leave you because of price. I mean, the truth is, if you're doing a good job, people don't leave on price 90% of the time. They feel like somebody didn't talk to them properly or call them back on time or solve their problem correctly or listen long enough to understand what the real problem was. And that's why clients leave. So going back to them and saying, we have this new service and it's monthly and we're right on top of it. You're our number one concerned customer. You get the 8 o'clock appointment. Might be an excellent way to go back in and pick customers up. And here's something interesting. When a customer leaves, a lot of times they're going to find out that some of the things that they were upset about, they're going to be upset at the next place too. So after they've been somewhere else for 5 or 6 months, they go, old Mike wasn't that bad a guy. I wish we hadn't left him. And then I got a follow-up question. This seems to be a no-brainer for a service business. Does Costco model apply to a product business? Well, in some cases it does, especially if it's a repeat product. But you know what Costco's doing is they're selling an annual subscription for $100 or $150 if you get their executive plan. And that gives you access to discounts on their products. And that's exactly what Amazon's doing. I belong to both. I have an Amazon Prime membership, and I get free shipping. Well, that's good for anywhere from $5 to $15 off when I buy something. So yeah, I'm getting a discount on my product, and I'm getting it shipped instantly. I can buy a book, and in 48 hours, it's sitting at my doorstep. So it's a there's always a blend, and I think that you'll see that blend in many of the examples in Warlow's book, The Automatic Customer. So the 3 books that I'm recommending, that if you find this of interest, read this one first. The second one I would read is Subscription Marketing. And the third one that I would read would be The Membership Economy, making people feel as if they're part of a group, and they're paying to access that group. And membership economy is really what Costco and Amazon are doing with their $100 a year membership cards. You feel like you're part of, and that's why they're so big on customer comments on their website and providing feedback loops, because they want you to feel like you're part of the in crowd, so that you keep going. I mean, when I buy a book, I cannot think of the last time I thought, well, I need to drive down to Barnes & Noble 2 minutes from here. It's real close. I can't think of the last time I decided I wanted to go down there. I still go to Barnes & Noble, browse the shelves, never leave without spending some money. But the 100 books a year that I buy, I swear 80 of them come from Amazon. And maybe 20 of them from going into Barnes & Noble and buying something I didn't intend to buy. So that membership really works for Amazon. And it makes me think about them a lot. I buy books at Barnes & Noble randomly. I buy books from Amazon on purpose. There's something I really want to read. And that's why I end up going there. And they get 80% of my business. Out of the 100 books a year, I must buy 80 off of Amazon. Okay, good. So that's really what I wanted to cover this morning. My name is Casey Truby. I've owned 21 companies since 1969. And that's a lot of different businesses. And almost all of them, I've tried to figure out some way to move to subscription. Of course, I couldn't do the auction company or the office furniture company that way, but many of the other businesses that we've been involved in, I've looked for how can I sell the customers so I'm billing them monthly, and that money's coming in whether I feel like working this month or not. And that money's coming in, so if I go on vacation, it's still there. And it's not only does it make it easier to plan cash flow and expenses, it makes it easier to plan the customer deliverable. When customers buy things randomly, it's very hard to staff for that. It's hard to plan inventory for that. And so we have failures in that kind of business model more than we do in a subscription model. The air conditioner guy knows that on May 1st to May 10th, somewhere in that range, he's going to show up here. And he's going to check this air conditioning. It's in his schedule on the first day of the year, so he knows how to hire and staff and plan to fulfill that agreement. And he's got cash flow coming in December. He's getting paid for air conditioning work he's going to be doing in May, and hopefully he doesn't have to come back out in June and July and fix it. But that's one of the reasons that he likes it so much. If you have any questions or want to send me an email, I've switched over to my auto-kept email because that's where I'm spending most of my time now on my startup. So you can email me at casey@autokept.com or call me direct. That's my mobile phone. Remember, I'm in Arizona, so don't call me at 6 o'clock in the morning if you're in New York City, because you'll wake up my son, and you don't want to do that. I'm going to let him talk to you if you do. ah, and so, but this has really worked. The subscription idea has really worked for us and multiple businesses over the past decade or two, and it's something that I think you should seriously consider doing when you either want to fix or improve your own business, or when you're looking at a distressed company, you're looking for some way to be able to buy them out. Okay, thank you everybody for logging on, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye now.